Join us for episode 229 of the Campus Comics Cast as we make our way to the bayou and dive into the muck with ManThing and Swamp Thing. This is Scott Reed, and I'm joined by
Mike Atchison.
And hey, we're going to talk about the first 5 appearances of both Swamp Thing and ManThing. But before we do, there's been some recent pre-release comics that have just shot up that I thought would be worth discussing just a little bit. I mean, I haven't even read either one of these. Only one of them is actually out, but we talked on a few episodes ago on a pre-orders. I guess would have had to been 3 pre-orders ago about Dork #1. So it's that D''ORC.
Yeah.
So that book is currently selling. I checked last night. The cheapest copy that you can buy for a first print A cover is $70, and it has just hit the shelf.
Yeah, I have to pick mine up yet. I ordered it.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully they didn't sell it to somebody out from underneath you. So
hopefully not.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I actually, because one of us picked that as a pick, I actually ordered 4 copies of that. So I'm hopeful that I will get my copies as well. So I just thought that was a little odd. And then right on the heels of that, the book that has either it just released or is maybe releasing next week, there's a book called White Sky issue. And it's selling 40 plus, is already going to a second print. Of course, Dork is too. And it's going, the cheapest one on eBay last night was $42. So I don't think we talked about White Sky. Do you remember talking about White Sky? I don't remember talking about White Sky.
I think I remember seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say for sure.
And I'm even trying to remember if Michael Cathro or something had put that on his, top 3 picks or whatever. I don't remember. I unfortunately did not order that one. So
what's the reason for these?
It's FOMO, I think. I don't know of any. I mean, with the books going, it's almost to me, it reminds me of when Punchline was coming out.
Yeah.
For DC, and those books were pre-selling. The day of release, they were $40, $50, if you hadn't, if you had not pre-ordered them, hopefully your shop, kept your pre-order and let you pay cover price. But any copies out on the shelf went $40, $50 almost immediately, and those are selling for way less than that now.
Yeah, Punchline has become a Punchline.
Yeah, I've read that, some comic book shops, like on Dork, somebody walked in and they had 100 copies just sitting on the shelf. So
Jeez.
I don't know what the situation is. So I'll take a closer look at it once I have my copies in hand, and see what's going on. So anyway, I think it's mostly FOMO, but who knows? It was an interesting looking character. So I don't know what they're going to do with it.
I think I wanted to pick up Dork mostly because of the apostrophe, and it reminded me of Gnort, and and he's a barbarian, and
mm-hmm.
You gotta love a goofy barbarian.
And he had the eyeball shield,
Yeah,
it was odd. So anyway, now in more serious news, and you mentioned this before we started recording. Of course, we lost Sal Buscema.
Yep.
So did you have any comments about the passing of Sal Buscema?
No, I mean, I just, of course, when you hear his name, when you hear of a creator passing, it's always sad. He lived a good long life of 89 years, the youngest, or the younger brother of John Buscema, and Sal was primarily a comics artist at Marvel Comics, had a 10-year run on Incredible Hulk, and an 8-year run on Spectacular Spider-Man, so, I mean, he's one of the old guard, being born in 1936, and he was born in 1936, and he Rom the Space Knight,
yes.
He was the artist on that.
Yes.
Was it the whole run or just the first?
Not the whole run, but he was the interior artist for the first issue for several. Frank Miller actually did the cover to the first issue.
Yeah.
And then later on, towards the end, they even brought in Steve Ditko. But Sal Buscema is the one who started the interior art.
Yeah.
For Rom, and he's done so many books. I mean, you can't even. It would be although I shouldn't say impossible, but it would take a long time to list all the books that he's worked on. So.
Yeah, and I mean, when you see his art, to me, especially not as a nuanced of a Marvel fan and recognizing artist over there, but when you see Buscema art, to me it's the Marvel house style. You can compare it to several others of that era, and they had a fairly standard style, but it was really good. I mean, it was a good
Yeah.
composition. Yep.
So anyway, passing of Sal Buscema, this within the last, well, I don't remember what day it was. Do you remember?
It was January 24th.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while then.
Yeah, it's been
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so we're gonna do the first 5 appearances of Man-Thing and Swamp Thing, but seriously, any discussion about these two characters probably should start back in the 1940s. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Yes, they were both inspired by another swampy monster character.
Yeah. Called the Heap.
Yes.
Who first appeared in Air Fighters #3 back in 1942. Now, my notes had that it was created by Harry Stein and Mort Leave.
Yes.
Okay.
Mort Leave, point of trivia, Mort Leave is also the creator of Mr. Whipple of the Charmin toilet paper commercials.
Ah, okay. I saw something about that, and I just kind of skipped over it. So
now are you looking at a reprint of Air Fighters?
So I have Air Fighters Classics. This is issue 2, which actually reprints Air Fighter Classics issue #3 because they were reprinting Airboy stories. This is Eclipse, and this was in 1988. But they didn't reprint Air Fighter Classics #1 because it didn't have any Airboy stories in it. So I have Air Fighter Classics issues 1, which reprints issues 2, and then also Air Fighter Classics issues 2, which it reprints Air Fighters issue 3, which has the first appearance of the Heap. Now, I assume these were in color originally, my reprint is in black and white.
Yeah.
But I did actually get to hold in my hands and read the first appearance of the Heap, because I just happened to have it.
Well, that's pretty cool that you have that. I had to go to Heritage or to Digital Comics Museum to get copies of these first 3 appearances of the Heap, and they are color. And yeah, the first 2 in Air Fighter Comics, he was basically just in a Skywolf story, 2-part Skywolf story, where he's sort of the abominable snowman-looking swamp character. He's more. He looks like a heap, an animated heap of hay almost.
Yeah.
But very much like his who he inspired later, the Swamp Thing and Man-Thing characters. His origins were that he was a human that died in a swamp. And this guy was Baron Emmelman, a World War I ace, and he crashed and
a German.
Yes, a German, yeah.
Ace. Yes, that's important, I think, to point out.
yeah. So he was. I mean, and you can tell by the name almost, Baron Emmelman, and
it was a Polish swamp. Now, I don't know why they made such a big deal out of it being a Polish swamp, but it was a Polish swamp.
But he stayed there. What's amazing to me is he stayed there as the Heap without really any stories between the years of the end of World War I to World War II, because his stories all really started in World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
well, it even says, doesn't it say, like, he lays there for decades?
Yeah.
If I'm trying to remember in the the Great Barren Polish Swamp. Where was it at? It's passes of I guess it says passes of time. So I thought it was decades. Maybe it's in the next issue or something.
Yeah, it might be in the next. I mean, like I said, the first 2 were just a 2-part Skywolf story, which he was white furred, but in the 3rd story he had brown fur. So maybe just.
So he kind of looks like the Big Muddy Monster.
Yeah, there you go. Something a little bit different about him, though, is that he was a carnivore. He actually ate livestock.
Well,
he
was more of a bloodsucker, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah, you're right. It was
more
more about getting the oxygen
out of the
out of the
blood.
blood. Yes, that was. So
Yeah, so he's almost a vampire, but not quite. But yeah, so he would, because he wouldn't eat the livestock, he would just drain the livestock of their blood.
yeah,
And then of course he definitely looks, ManThing, I think, looks more closely resembles the Heap than what the Swamp Thing does.
yeah,
Especially because of it's almost like he's got a bad haircut. And they just kind of clip over his eyes so he can see.
yeah,
So he's got that hair or whatever it is hanging down in between over his nose, or where his nose would be, and it kind of looks like that, whatever it is that ManThing has down the center of his face.
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So there's kind of a little bit of resemblance there.
Yeah, but
Now,
the stories though.
You said that there was a 2-part Skywolf. I thought there was just 1 part Skywolf, and then it goes on to Airboy number 9 and 10.
Yeah, the 2-part Skywolf was in Air Fighters Comics, Volume 1, Issues 3. I take that back. It's not a 2-part. It's, okay, so I'm looking at the first part, and it ends with the, he's...
The Heap being destroyed.
Yeah,
so
the Heap
quote-unquote destroyed.
possibly being destroyed, or apparently being destroyed. And then when you go to number 9...
Yeah.
It's
we're back at the USSA or USA, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It jumps ahead. It wasn't 2 parts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was still World War II time frame, which to me is the weirdest thing about this character, is that it's 1942, and they're bringing in this character. It's not so much in Airfighter number 3, because he's kind of the bad guy in Airfighter number 3, but in Airboy 9 and 10, he's German, and he's like befriending this kid in the United States. And
Yeah.
it's just a weird dichotomy based on what else is happening in the world.
Yeah.
Because this is smack dab in the middle of World War II. So
I don't know how much time had passed. It may have been enough time to really change the strategy. Maybe they had different writers at that point. I don't know.
well, I mean, it just felt very, very odd to me. I mean,
Yeah.
we're definitely still in the World War II time frame, I think, with Airboy
Yeah.
9 and 10, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I should.
Well,
look
it's
up the dates of those.
volume 3. That third appearance is a volume 3, number 9. So I don't know if I can see what year that was or not, but it felt more modern. It was in 1946.
Okay, so we're 1 year out.
Only 1 year.
So,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a little odd, I thought. So that's just what struck me as funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Yep, October 1946. So, oh, okay, I got to tell a story. Amazon burned me.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know why, but I thought, oh, maybe there'll be a reprint of some of these, Airboy comics on Comixology. So I jump on, I search for Airboy 9, pops up, and the price is $0.00. And I'm like, oh, great! It's part of Comixology. So I get it. Nope, I apparently had at least $3.95 worth of credit at Amazon. So it burned $3.95 of my credit. And but it said $0. I just didn't think to check. So
So it didn't cost you anything, but it wasn't truly zero.
but it wasn't truly zero,
Yeah.
right? I guess that's the difference between free and $0.00. Apparently, I need to learn that if it says $0.00, that means there's a gift certificate or something applied to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of odd. So I don't know, anything else you want to? I mean, we can keep talking about the Heap as we progress through talking about Man-Thing and Swamp Thing. But anything else with the character you want to mention at this point?
One thing I noticed just reading up on the guy was that, in Swamp Thing, Alan Moore really explored the idea of there being so many prior Swamp Things, and one of them was I guess an analog of the Heap. He was a German pilot named Albert Haller, who became the template for a Swamp Thing in the 1940s. So
he was also, like, I think in the Parliament of Trees for Swamp Thing, and like they even showed him with an airplane at one point.
Yep,
I
yep.
guess.
His
Yeah.
plane was
Okay.
hanging near him in a
Mhm.
tree in the swamp or something, and yeah, there's like several issues that he appeared in Swamp Thing. So
Yeah. I saw a list of several, but that was like the one
yeah,
thing that kind of stood out to me. So.
right.
Okay, well, so we're going to talk about Man-Thing and Swamp Thing, and I'm sure we'll backtrack to similarities and differences, talking about the Heap moving forward. And we're going to cover the first 5 appearances. So Man-Thing's first 5 appearances are Savage Tales #1, which is a magazine size. So I actually read that in Infernal Man-Thing issue 3, which I'll have a discussion about that later. And then Astonishing Tales 12 and 13, and then depending on how you want to call it, either Fear or Adventures into Fear 10 and 11. I think on the, I can't remember what it actually says on the indicia, but Fear 10 and 11. So created by Gerry Conway, Gray Morrow, maybe Roy Thomas, maybe Stan Lee. I don't know. We'll see see how the discussion goes there. Mike, what we got for the first 5 of Swamp Thing?
Well, it's in 2 different series, not 3 or 4 like with Man-Thing. It starts out with House of Secrets #92, which most people know. It's pretty famous for its cover from July of 1971, and it was created by Wein and Bernie Wrightson. And I just happened to look when I was writing up my notes that right now this House of Secrets '92 in a mid-grade condition lists for about $1,200. So it's a fairly valuable comic. And then
Yeah,
you got
it's
yeah,
becoming in some circles it is close to beating Hulk 181 for the most valuable Bronze Age book.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, so depending on there was at least it briefly surpassed it. It maybe has reversed that, but for a while it was a brief period of time is more valuable than Hulk 181.
Yeah. So then the next 4 appearances were in the comic titled Swamp Thing from 1972 to the 4 issues were from 1972 to 73, and it was also by Wein and Wrightson. And I read them on the app. I read all these on the app, but I found that I have a full run of Swamp Thing, that first volume, except for issue 2. So, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to buy issue 2. It's not
Issue
that
2,
expensive.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and yeah, it's had most of its. I mean, its popularity was really strong in the original '70s run, but when it in the '80s, when Alan Moore and Stephen Bissett and John Totleben took over, it soared and became the character we know today.
Right, right. So, all right, so let's start with first introduction to the characters. So, do you let's again Man-Thing. Still hard. I guess still can't believe it when I say it. Man-Thing predates Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Man-Thing first and then Swamp Thing. So do you remember your first introduction to Man-Thing?
No. No. I mean, I remember my reaction, I guess, when I first seen the character, thinking it was an odd character, but I never read a single story before these last couple weeks preparing for this episode. I can't remember where I first was aware there was a you could call it a Marvel version of Swamp Thing, or Swamp Thing is the DC version of Man Thing, because it did come out on the shelves 2 months or so before Swamp Thing. So, but I really, I mean, it would be complete me filling in with a bunch of guesses as to where I first seen or heard of the character, but I never really even tried to learn more about him. So it's not a very good answer, but that's what it is.
Well, I mean, the first appearance of both of these characters predates my comic reading
Yeah.
life period. So I mean, so I'm not going to have seen the first appearance of these characters sitting on the shelf someplace, just hitting the grocery store or something like
Right,
that. But
right.
so I'll talk about Micronauts when I get the chance, right? So Micronauts issue #7 has a awesome Michael Golden cover that has Man-Thing in the swamp with a bunch of the Micronauts, and that's from April 1979. Now, so I there's a possibility that sometime within a year or so after that, I might have stumbled across a back issue of Micronauts
Mm-hmm.
and found that cover. I don't know if that was the first time I saw the character. If it wasn't from that issue of Micronauts, then it would have probably just been some random issue of his self-titled ManThing book, which I don't remember even when that came out. But I gotta plug that Micronauts cover. So it's Michael Golden art. I mean, it's just great.
What's interesting, that was you think was possibly your first experience with
Hmm.
ManThing, because my Swamp Thing experience is similar.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, speaking of Swamp Thing, what about Swamp Thing for you? When do you recall actually reading Swamp Thing or seeing Swamp Thing for the first time?
Okay, well, I don't know if I had a copy of any of the 1970s series, which ran 24 issues. If I did, my uncle it would have been because he gave them to me. But I do know I started buying the 1982 series off of the rack whenever it first came about. By that time, I was in high school, had a little bit of my own money. But I think the first time I read a story with him was, well, I don't think, I'm almost positive that it was in one of those later Challengers of the Unknown stories in like 77 or 78, where he was a guest star. And it was just like the last, he guest starred in like the last 5 issues of that run. And yeah, so of course, I had sold off a lot of my Swamp Thing years ago, but I had collected, I bet, the first 60 or so issues, either originally, or have filled in the gaps over the years. The first 19 issues of that second series was Marty Pasco and Tom Yeats, and it was okay, but
Yeah,
it
it didn't
no.
have quite the allure that once Alan Moore started on it.
Yeah, no, it was nothing like what Alan Moore brought. That, what did he call it? Sophisticated suspense was the
There you go.
tagline.
Yes, yes. Well, I probably had just a random issue of the first volume of Swamp Thing. There's no telling. I don't really know. But last night I was flipping through like some covers for Swamp Thing because I was not buying the Alan Moore Swamp Thing because that was in the what early '80s, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was about
Yeah.
80. By the time the 19, it was probably 83, 84. Whenever Moore got on the title.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking that the first issue that I actually bought was probably post Alan Moore, and I was looking at the covers, and I'm looking at Swamp Thing issue number 87, which would have been June 1989.
Hmm.
And there's this image of Swamp Thing almost like a spider, and he's got like this castle on his back. He's like kind of moving towards
Well,
the
that's
viewer of the cover.
that's the last issue written by Rick Veitch.
Rick
87 is.
Veitch, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's why I picked it up was
yeah.
because of Rick Veitch. Now I may have read some previously, like but this is the cover that stands out to me.
Hmm.
So, because like I said, I was flipping through, I remember this cover. So, and that was again June 1989, and because I was a fan of Rick Veitch on Brat Pack, and he also did like a 3-part Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, which I thought was really really good.
Hmm.
So he was kind of in my mind about being somebody that I wanted to, read his stuff, and of course I wait till the end of the Swamp Thing run until the beginning of the Swamp
I
Thing
mean,
run.
literally the end of that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
basically it was the end of an era, because that's one issue I don't have. I don't have a few of them at the tail end of that run by Veach, and now it's hard to find that 87.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Okay. But
fairly
yeah,
hard to find it. Yeah,
yeah, but this cover is just very, very, again, it just very, very striking. So, and it's a Rick Veitch cover as well. So,
yeah.
so I don't know. I'm thinking that might be it, but like I said, I probably had some one-offs of the first volume of Swamp Thing, but I'm gonna go with this Swamp Thing '87 may have been my first actual reading
And the
and
next
buying of.
the next issue, the reason Veach left is because DC wouldn't allow him to publish that next issue that they
Mm-hmm.
are publishing now.
Finally going to publish
Yeah.
now. We talked about in the last pre-orders, right? And we're both. I've already ordered my copies. I actually ordered both covers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have both covers ordered and plan on reading those. So looking forward to that here in a couple months.
You scare me because now I can't remember ordering that one. Surely I
Uh-oh.
did.
Hopefully,
I better
you did.
look.
Well, I ordered two, but
Yeah.
I guess if we wait until they're all out, to talk about them all together, then you
Yeah.
can always just read them in the app. But
Yeah.
but I actually ordered physical copies of
Yeah.
them. So, all right. So, what are your initial thoughts for ManThing about this version of the character?
Like I said, the design. I guess if my thoughts were based off of my notions and my vague memory of this character before reading these first 5 stories, it would have been not really good at all. Just like, I don't know what this guy is. I had the idea that he was a ripoff of Swamp Thing, which he wasn't. And, but having read these next 5 issues, I'm thinking he's kind of a more hardcore Swamp Thing. And while he's in some ways very similar, kind of slow moving, it's like his brain's less. If Swamp Thing has like a slow moving speech patterns, ManThing just barely can keep. It's just all he can really do is act, but he's whatever he does is in defense of someone that's helpless. He knows right from wrong and good from bad, and he's got a much more. I mean, if you're a teenager or a young person reading this and you're like, wow, that's cool. He just put his hand on that bad guy's face and just acid burned him. So yeah, that's kind of a cool factor. And that's where my initial thoughts are, other than it being so similar, his origins, honestly, to both.
Well, all 3 of them, you mentioned that already.
Yeah.
They die, quote unquote, die in a swamp, right? And turn into these muck monsters.
Now I do question what's the Salas? Ted Salas? Is that the
Ted Salas? Yeah.
I do question his rationale for protecting that super soldier serum by injecting himself as the test subject as he's trying to escape the bad guys and he crashes into the swamp. So yeah, that had a
Well, he did that deliberately.
Right.
I mean, he wanted to get rid of the serum, so he used the serum and then kills himself, so that way they can't recreate or have a sample of the serum to actually rebuild it. So,
right.
So they kind of explained that, but yeah, it's like you had kind of escaped. Just go for it.
I know. Yeah, if you're looking at the panel, it looked like he was far enough away. He could have just kept driving.
Kept going. Yeah, keep driving. Give yourself a chance.
But then we'd be talking about Ted Salas and not ManThing.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, initially these characters, they kind of start very, very similar.
Yeah.
All 3 of them, right? Heap, ManThing. Something happens. They die in a swamp. They come back as these muck monsters. To me, the big difference between ManThing and Swamp Thing is that ManThing is losing his humanity, while a Swamp Thing is gaining his humanity, because ManThing kind of starts becoming just, as you said, that mindless creature. But Swamp Thing extends on and develops relationships, and there's a whole lot of stuff that happens with that character. Yeah,
grows little potatoes off of himself to give to Abby, and
yeah, much later,
he becomes more sophisticated. But I was going to say something else, but I'll wait till we get to a little bit more on the origin. Yeah.
But again, this the kind of like where the characters are going mentally, I guess, is different between the two, and I think it's enough to really put a clear differentiation between ManThing and Swamp Thing. So
yeah.
So I don't, even though their origins are very, very similar, I don't feel like they end up being the same character.
Yeah, and I one little anecdote here from, I think it's from an interview with Roy Thomas. He he's asked about isn't it a little bit more than a coincidence? These guys were roommates, meaning Len Wein and Gerry Conway,
Yeah.
and 2 months apart. And I mean, publication-wise, it would not have been enough time to have seen the
Yeah.
published version of the Man-Thing to be able to then put together the Swamp Thing. So it might have been some unconscious, hearing each other talk about stuff maybe, but nothing really deliberate. And Marvel, even though they had entertained the idea of taking it to court, they really thought, well, you know what? We have the Heap from back in the 40s, and this is really a close knockoff of the Heap as well.
Hmm.
So let's just leave it alone.
Yeah, the story that I had always heard, and this is probably apocryphal, was that, since Conway and Len Wein were roommates, that they both kind of. I had thought Conway was the creator of Man-Thing, and
Yeah.
Len Wein was the creator of Swamp Thing. But when you read online, it makes it sound. And of course, every single Marvel character now, the story is Stan Lee said such and such
Yeah.
to Roy Thomas, who then brought in such and such.
Yeah.
You can kind of fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So I don't I question how involved Stan Lee and Roy Thomas actually were
Sure.
in the creation of Man-Thing, but I have to be careful since we're going back and forth. Make sure I say the right character at the right time. But I really feel like Gerry Conway should probably get most of the credit for the creation of Man-Thing, but
I would agree.
don't know.
I would agree. Even though Thomas says he worked out a quote detailed plot and gave it to Conway
Yeah.
to script, I'm more apt to think it's one thing to come up with an idea. You can see
Yeah.
Stanley jumping on the couch and acting out a
Hmm.
plot, but and then you're right. It is a very much something you hear that script over and over again over at Marvel in that era.
Yeah. Well, my thought is Stan Lee said we need a new character. So then Thomas writes, let's create somebody like the Heap and gives it to Gerry Conway
Yeah.
because that's more detailed than what Stan gave him.
Right. Right. Right.
And then Gerry Conway does all the work,
Yep.
which he'd probably already done most of it from sitting around and reading the Heap with Len Wein.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But who knows? And we probably will never know. So.
No. We'll get to another bit of apocryphy. Is that the word? Legend,
Sure.
whatever. That isn't necessarily true here shortly.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the origin of the character. So, how much do we get about the character's origin in these first 5 appearances? So, Mike, what do you got?
Man-Thing first. The origin.
Sure.
Yeah, we get the whole thing. In fact, you get
Get
it
the whole
like
thing,
you get it
yeah.
like you get the whole thing in that first 8 or 10 or 11 pages of a story in Savage Tales 1, which is, oh my gosh, that art was so good.
It was really
Oh
good,
my
yes.
gosh, I could just that, and then you had recaps. I want to say in the next 2 appearances for
Mm-hmm.
sure that in that Neil Adams, which I know that had been that little insert in the middle of the Kazar story
Mm-hmm.
that guest starred Man-Thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely almost a full recap there.
It was. It was. I felt like, and this is one of the questions that I have. So again, I read Savage Tales, the Man-Thing story from Savage Tales 1 in Infernal Man-Thing. I have decided, but I haven't checked this yet, that they did not reprint the entire Savage Tales 1 story in that book because when you look at the did you say it was Neil Adams art in the Astonishing Tales?
In Astonishing Tales, yeah. It was just they took an old story because there were some years, I guess, between Savage Tales and Astonishing Tales, the
Mm-hmm.
Kazar story, and whatever that Kazar story was going on with Man-Thing guesting, it
Mm-hmm.
was a good time to insert this already drawn and written story by Neil
Okay.
Adams and whoever the writer was, maybe Gerry Conway, and they inserted into and gave a little bit of background on Man-Thing and this the woman, the older black woman that was a
Mm-hmm.
doctor in a lab, part of the lab or leading the lab or whatever, where Salas worked, and
Right.
yeah, so somehow it fit in there. They just kind of squeezed it. Totally different style. I mean, it looked nothing like the Buscema art, but
No.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's what threw me. I thought, did I not get the full Savage Tales story? Was there more to that story? Because there was so much more in that retelling of the origin. I thought, well, maybe I missed out on something.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, it was just like what you described. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
um,
you definitely get plenty of an origin, and I don't know that. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's pretty clear. So
yeah, okay, all right, yeah. So and we get the full for both characters, right? I mean,
yeah, for
it's
Swamp,
very similar. Yeah.
yeah, that's Swamp Thing. His origin is okay. So my initial thoughts of the original version, I didn't really talk about that yet, and we're not
Yeah.
about Swamp Thing. So it was I thought he
Two
was
swamp things. Yeah, we have
yeah
two swamp things. Yeah.
yeah. So we have the original. What's his name? Alex Olson in House of
Hmm.
Secrets number 92, and
Right.
his wife Linda Olson Ridge.
Hmm.
And, other than that, the origin in House of Secrets 92 is the same as what gets recapped in Swamp Thing 1. You just have Alec Holland now and
Hmm.
Linda Holland, his wife. So much, and the bad guy is a little bit different too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
he's married his wife.
yeah, right. The bad
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
is his old buddy that was just jealous of him,
Hmm.
and after he died or transitioned over to Swamp Thing, uh, I'm trying to see what his name is here. I don't think I
Oh
wrote it
God,
down.
I don't remember either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So,
But it's just like an 8-page story or something inside of
hmm
House of Secrets. It's not a particularly long story, and that's something that I mean, really, you can make the argument that it's really two different characters. The Alec Holland is different than the Alec Olson because it's almost a more, I don't know, gothic feel to the House of Secrets story as opposed to the suspenseful stories that we start getting with Swamp Thing.
and that's exactly what Alan Moore does. He
Mhm.
makes them two different characters.
And then I think even after Alec Holland later on, we got, at least for a while, a different Swamp Thing. I don't know if there's been
We do.
more than one other. I don't. I remember the character. I don't remember having read much of the character.
Levi Kami, he's been
Okay.
around since 2021. I first read about him in Justice League Unlimited, and
Okay.
he apparently was introduced in Infinite Frontier Zero, and
I thought there
yeah,
was one before that, like even around like New 52 time frame.
as far as I thought, I don't know. I never read any of
Okay.
those in that era. I know that was
Okay.
like a Scott Snyder series, wasn't it? Or no,
I don't remember.
what was it? Rom V maybe?
It's was Swamp Thing even one of the New 52 titles, launch titles? It was, wasn't it? Because
Yeah,
Animal
yeah,
Man was a launch title,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Because that's
just
where we got the whole Avatar of the Green, Avatar of the Red,
right, right,
for
right.
Swamp Thing and Animal Man.
Now,
I don't.
Alec Holland, apparently he and Abby Kane have a daughter. How that worked, I don't know. But her name is Teffy Holland, and she is a human plant elemental hybrid with the potential to become the Avatar of the Green. And maybe she's the one that was in Justice League Unlimited recently.
Okay.
Anyway, I remember. You know what? The Levi Kami, I think he was the version that I read in Justice League Dark that had like antlers.
Okay. I remember the antlers
Yes,
now.
yes. Oh boy, I've got too many
It's
years of memory to
well,
try to deal with here.
yeah, and I've not read most of these stories. I mean, anything I'm talking about is just like one off or having read it from a previews or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, power set. So, what powers do we get? All right, Heap. What? That's impervious to harm, a bloodsucker, right?
That's yeah.
I guess relatively strong.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. That's it.
Man thing.
ManThing, he's got the acid touch.
For
Uh,
those who know fear.
that's right. Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Whatever knows fear burns at the ManThing's touch.
And
Um,
also relatively impervious to harm.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
He's yeah. That's
Now,
about
Swamp Thing just kind of starts with impervious to harm and strength, right? I mean, we
yeah.
don't
That
really see anything else from Swamp Thing in those first few issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's just brute strength and
Yeah.
resilience, but later on, it's much more
Oh yeah,
expanded. I mean,
way
yeah.
expanded. Which is our next question. It's like, okay, so what changes for these characters moving forward? So Heap, not much different, right?
No, no. I mean, yeah.
Is yeah.
I've
So
never
we don't
read
need to
any of
break it
the
much there.
'80s versions of them, and Man Thing, I
No,
haven't read anything either. So I don't think
I've
much has changed, except he's been appeared in a lot of books.
yes, yes. Well, of course, he had the Werewolf by Night. He was featured in the Werewolf by Night Disney special as well, which kind of
That's
increased some interest in
right.
the character.
Man,
Yeah.
I wish they'd have another episode or whatever of that. That was so good.
Yes. Oh no, yeah, I'm with you there. But he basically feels pretty similar. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
he kind of ends up with the Steve Gerber run being like the guardian of the Nexus, but that's just because the Nexus happens to be in the swamp that he's in.
yeah.
And you get some weird characters showing up alongside him, like Howard the Duck, and
It's like an issue of Grimjack. You know, you're at the Munden bar.
there you go. Right.
It's the
So,
nexus of all realities. Yeah,
and but he hasn't. I mean, like his power set isn't dramatically different, at least not that I know of. Whereas Swamp Thing,
yeah,
his power set has increased dramatically.
yeah. Well, first of all, the he's it's not really a power change, but early on in Alan Moore's run, he establishes that Swamp Thing is not Alec Holland that's been transformed into a swamp monster and is, literally still Alec Holland's mind and consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plant creature that somehow absorbed what was left of Alex Holland's consciousness, and that's why Swamp Thing would speak so slowly, is because the pollution in the swamp and the explosion kind of damaged Holland's brain before that could all get transferred over to the Swamp Thing, something like that. So, but then when powers come, I mean, you're talking about elemental control. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can. It's like on steroids. He's like Poison
Yeah.
Ivy times 1,000. He can literally transport himself from one
Anywhere there's
location
green,
in the
the
green. Yeah,
green.
anywhere there's
Yeah.
green. Yeah,
Including other planets. That
yeah,
was part of the Alan Moore run, was that he would go to other planets if there
yeah,
was some type of, foliage there that he could actually
yeah.
transfer himself to.
Yep.
He could grow to immense sizes. We were talking about the cover of that 87, right?
Yep.
Where on that one he's carrying a castle on his back, so but a lot of that is tied to that whole, is it Avatar of the Green? Am I saying that right? It doesn't sound
He's.
right whenever it comes out of my mouth. But there was something of the green and of the red, like I said, for Animal Man.
I think
But that
Avatar
was
might be the right. I don't
okay.
remember. I mean, he's the. I think early on he was considered an Earth elemental, but
Hmm.
now it's more Avatar of the Green,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Anything else you want to mention about changes in power sets?
No, I don't think so.
Nope. Okay. It is Avatar of the Green. So just to
Okay.
clarify, it just didn't sound right for something because it's been so long since I've read that. So all right, special moments. What do you want to call out? And you can jump around between Heap and Man Thing and Swamp Thing. So what are some of the moments that you want to call out? So give me one.
I think I covered everything on the heap that I had to mention already, but on Man Thing, I all I can do is go back to that Gray Morrow art in Savage Tales 1. I thought it was a
Yes.
good origin. It was a good story, and I I think that okay. So it felt the art by John Buscema in the Kazar story. It didn't suit Man Thing at all. I wasn't as enamored with Astonishing Tales 12 and 13 as I was when it went back to Fear, Tales
Mm-hmm.
of Fear, whatever that's called, The Adventures of Fear,
Adventures
Interfere,
into Fear. Yeah.
10 and 11 by Gerry Conway and Gray Morrow. Again, that was much better. So, uh, yeah, that's the points I wanted to make about
I was
Man Thing.
I got to talk about the Heap. It's like those 9 and 10, right? It felt like a boy and his dog type of a story.
Yeah.
His dog's out there getting in trouble. The boy comes and rescues the dog, not knowing that the dog is willing to rip his throat out at any moment.
Yes. Yeah.
It was so those it's still just like it was so weird, and it's just like I just again, how were they publishing these stories at that time? I just don't know. So, what else you want to point out story wise from anything?
On Swamp Thing, I didn't really cover any of the moments I wanted to point out on Swamp Thing. Okay, so the legend in our comic fan circles, was for years that redheaded woman on the cover of House of Secrets number 92,
Mm-hmm.
that was Linda Olson, was modeled after Glennis Wein, Len's wife. I was trying to find where there were some articles to support that. Turns out this is really like a false story. I mean, they didn't even meet until a couple years after that issue. So it's just a lot of fandom wishful thinking, I think, and things just evolve. So yeah, and next time somebody says, yeah, like I was going to point that out. Oh yeah, she was modeled after Lin Wein's wife. Well, it's not really even true. So I am Damian Ridge was the friend that actually killed him or tried to kill him, and then tried to kill his wife Linda as well. Um, yeah, so I don't have, just talking about the parallels there. I liked going into Swamp Thing run number 2. Wrightson is a different artist than Morrow. I think both are equally talented and just legendary, but I think Wrightson's more of a good monster artist. He can draw the best crazy art monsters like the Unmen and what was the Patchwork Man. They're
Yeah,
very, they're just grotesque.
yeah. Like the Patchwork Man is just Frankenstein. It's just
Really, yeah, definitely, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. But now, one thing Wrightson could not draw was dogs. That dog in that story looked like,
yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying the word Gnort twice in one episode, but he looked like a humanoid dog,
Hmm.
like the Green Lantern Gnort. That's it.
Well, yeah. Well, you've got to point out issue 3 of Swamp Thing as a key moment because that's where we get the introduction of Abigail Arcane, who's
Yes.
the niece of Arcane, and she is obviously a mainstay, as you've already discussed,
Yep.
in the life cycle of Swamp Thing. And it was a pretty good introduction, and I like the way it's not like it's weird. It's a niece as opposed to a daughter or whatever
Right.
of the villain, from issue 2,
Yep.
and how that character sticks around. So
Yep.
one thing, I almost did is like I wanted to do a count of the number of alligator attacks in these books, especially
Right.
ManThing, because that was like no alligators were harmed in the production of these comics.
I don't know. He was pulling the jaws
Yeah,
apart of that
yeah,
alligator, just like King Kong and the T-Rex. I mean, just
yeah, because it got to the point of being absurd there for a little bit. So
he's a gator wrestler from way back.
yeah, exactly. So all right, so favorite. All right, so for the heap of the 3 issues that we read, what's your favorite issue?
That last one that had him befriending the kid, it seemed like it had a little bit more heart to it. That was
Well, that was in
in
the second one. That was in
that was in the
9.
second one.
Yeah, it was in 9 where he
Okay.
befriends the kid because he has the German model plane, and then 10 is where they go to the carnival.
Yes. So 9.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank
9.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean the origin. I had to go with the origin, which in the Skywolf comics, so it was Airfighter 3 for the heap. So
Okay.
all right, what about for Man-Thing? What's your favorite of the first 5 for
Uh,
Man-Thing?
Easily Savage Tales 1.
Yeah.
I mean, the black and white art.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it just is amazing to me that someone could draw that well. And it Gray Morrow, whenever he did some art with on the Spectre, I thought that was, it's when I knew he's been around for a long time before that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's when I first learned of his talents, and I really, when I see his name somewhere, I'm like, oh, I want to read that story because of his name.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. That Savage Tale, it just felt more mature, right?
Mm-hmm.
More mature storytelling, and the black and white just made it look really, really good. The retelling in Astonishing Tales 13 with the black and yellow
Mm-hmm.
kind of was also kind of nice, but it didn't quite match the Savage Hills. I wish we would have had that whole that whole uh, story from Astonishing
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
Savage #1. I would have liked to have seen all that story in black and
yeah,
white. That would have been really, really
yeah,
good. So,
yeah. That sepia tone or whatever they had there
hmm
made it a little bit muddy, but it still had that Neil Adams detail.
yeah, yeah. What about for Swamp Thing? What was your favorite of the first 5 issues for Swamp Thing?
It was a little bit harder to pick.
Hmm
I'd say it'd be Swamp Thing issue 1 or 2. I think that's when it's the true canon is being established of the character. I enjoyed, that. I just it really felt like it was Len Wein really fleshing out what little ideas he had in House of Secrets '92, and it's no wonder that it caught on. And seeing Bernie Wrightson art
hmm
and seeing those unmen and yeah, I could see why people were like clamoring for more. And yeah, I'm surprised it only lasted 24 issues. I haven't read all of those, but I think I read somewhere that it kind of jumped the shark and it was just a monster of the month that
hmm
Swamp Thing was what the stories were about. So
Right. I would go. I like issue #2 of Swamp Thing because we get the introduction of Arcane, who
yeah,
eventually, even though he quote unquote dies in that issue,
right.
spoilers, he comes back. He gets better, right, and becomes kind of a major antagonist for Swamp Thing, at least for an extended part of his lifetime. So I can't remember exactly when he comes back, but I think he was around for Alan Moore, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that being I don't know what stories or what role exactly. He was, I'm sure, a villain, but his
hmm
relationship with Abigail Arcane as being her uncle, and yeah, I think it's in there somewhere. And I'll wait till you ask the question because I almost said it.
Oh, okay. So, well, and this just popped into my brain. How have we not even mentioned the Swamp Thing movies?
I almost did because in 1982 when this next volume came out of Swamp Thing, it was really to
hmm
capitalize on that movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that's I'm
The
sure.
rubber suit Swamp Thing.
Yeah, oof, it was awful. Except for what was her name? The
Adrian Barbeau.
Barbeau. Oh
Yeah.
goodness, every red-blooded young man of the day was like, oh, watching that movie for her and her only.
Yeah.
I remember wanting that poster, the movie poster of that movie. Yeah.
That it did have a cool movie poster.
Hmm.
Now there was a Swamp Thing TV series as well. Did you ever watch that?
No, I did not. I've heard of it, but
See,
no.
I've heard it's actually maybe there's been a couple of them. Actually, there's been a couple
The
of
more
them.
recent one
The more
was
recent one's supposed to be really good.
yeah, and it got yanked. I don't. It was some
hmm
corporate decision,
Yeah.
ill-conceived decision because it was getting really good reviews, and they just
Jeez, yeah.
pulled the plug. Yeah.
And then there was an earlier one that was like it wasn't it was like whatever it was the CW before we had the CW type of
Yeah.
show. So
Oh, it
I
was
remember watching some of those, but
WB back then.
maybe yeah I don't remember. So all right. So last question here: do you plan to seek out more stories of these characters? So first,
I
let's go with the Heap. You see
yeah.
the Heap show up in the next issue of I don't know. Or Heap gets a new #1. You buying it?
Yeah, heck yeah. For novel,
Really?
yes, for
Oh wow.
novelty's sake.
Okay.
At this point,
Oh.
look, any character, no matter how poorly written decades ago, can be reinvented and made interesting. But now I've
Okay.
got this really novelty idea of reading more about the swamp monsters, and I wouldn't go back into Digital Comics Museum and try to download future stories, from back in the 40s of him. But I would maybe go back and try to find some of the stories from the Pacific or Eclipse or whatever publisher it was
hmm
in the 80s of the Heap
Okay.
and see how he compares. So yeah, I would.
Okay. So you're gonna go try to track down the Spawn issues where Todd McFarlane reintroduces a version of the Heap?
I don't know. I just never really liked
You're
Spawn.
not going that far.
No,
You're not
I
going
don't know
that
if I'll
far.
go that
Okay.
far. No.
I'm not. The Heap is not going to attract me to a book, so I'm not gonna be picking any of those up. Okay. Well, what about ManThing?
If I can find a story that doesn't require me to know more about the character and because there are so many. I was just reading the Marvel.com character, biography, and it's pretty deep. There's you had the AIM appearance, and you got
Hmm.
the Shield involved, and you got if it's not too if it's not too inaccessible, yeah, I would read a new version of the Man-Thing.
I I'm looking. I want to say that whenever I was jumping into Infernal Man Thing #3, the creative team on that. Okay, so it was Steve Gerber and Kevin Nolan,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I always like Kevin
and
Nolan.
it's only 3 issues, so
Yeah,
it's like I probably should jump back in and read that. So I may go back and read Infernal Man Thing just because of the creative team
yeah.
on that. That looks, and again, I skipped straight to the end, uh, but it also looked really really weird. It looks like a drug induced story is what it looks like when you flip through it. The
Yeah.
Man Thing, or this, actually it's not Man Thing, but this other creature kind of reminds me of Impossible Man, his facial expressions and
Mm-hmm.
such. So I don't know. It feels way out there, but I may have to give it a shot just because, again, Steve Gerber
Yeah. And that
and
and that
Kevin
came out.
Nolan.
That came out when?
This came out in 2012,
Okay.
so
Yeah, that's
not
where it's
too.
on the app. I've got.
Yeah,
But I'll have to maybe
S-
check it out.
but other than that, it's going to take me knowing in advance that it's a good story.
Sure,
That's
that
my
makes
typical
sense.
answer
Yeah.
for this question. I know, but all right, Swamp Thing.
I have no intention of reading anything about Swamp Thing in his current.
Ever again?
I mean, not the new stuff.
Not the new
Not the
stuff,
new
right?
stuff. I'm not. It's. He's just another. He's not even an anti-hero. He's not even a tragic hero anymore.
Mm-mm.
He's just another. He's just a gimmicky hero. I mean, he's in Justice League Unlimited, and it's not even Alec Holland. Now, I will. I do want to go back and just do a complete read through of Swamp Thing. The Len Wein,
Mhm.
Bernie Wrightson, 24 issues, yes, and then the first 19 issues of the saga of the Swamp Thing with Marty Pasco, yes, and then go through and read everything Alan Moore wrote up until I'll never get it done before I read the newly
The new, yeah.
minted 88. But
Hmm.
I would like to read all of that stuff. Just set it as a project.
Well, that's my plan. Is I'm actually gonna start where Alan Moore ends on Swamp Thing. So I'm gonna read
Hmm.
those issues from, what is it, 65 to
Hmm.
87,
Yeah.
just to in preparation for about a month and a half whenever that next issue of Swamp Thing from based off those original Rick Beach stories comes out.
Well,
So
maybe I'll do
so
that too with
yes.
along with you as we prepare for those Rick Veitch stories where he meets
Okay.
Jesus.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on our muck monsters?
I enjoyed this. I mean, I've enjoyed lots of our first fives, but I really enjoyed this, especially because you had such a neat way of comparing these different characters that are so alike yet different enough, and
Hmm.
it was a really fun way to go about it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that there wasn't a lawsuit. I would have hated to have lost one of these characters because in my mind, they are end up being two very very distinct characters.
Right.
They may have a similar origin, but past that,
Who knows? In
they're.
this era of crossover team ups with Marvel and DC, maybe we'll see a
Hmm.
Swamp Thing Man Thing team up
Yeah. Oh, okay. So before we jump into a CLZ, because I'm putting you on the spot here on this. So,
on the
all
air.
right, on the air, I'm putting you on a spot. So if you want me to answer the question first, I will, since I've had a chance to think about it. So, what is your oldest issue of Man Thing that you have, if any, in your comic book collection?
I
Don't have any Man
don't
Thing
have
in your
any Man
collection.
Thing. Nope.
What about a giant? Do you have a giant sized Man Thing in there someplace?
We couldn't get through the whole episode without
I
that
know.
joke.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was so proud, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
So, well, I of course had that issue of Micronauts,
Yeah.
which would be from 1989.
Yeah.
And then, so Brian Morris, who's a writer, right? He actually had a letter that was, oh, that wasn't in ManThing though. Was it in ManThing or was it Master of Kung Fu? Oh, now I don't remember. I know I have the Micronauts that has ManThing. That other than that, that may be the only ManThing comic that I have. But Brian Morris had a letter. I thought it was in ManThing, but now that I say that out loud, I think it might have been in Masters of Kung Fu. So, all right. So what about for Swamp Thing?
Well, wait a second. I just searched my CLZ.
Oh, okay.
I do have
for ManThing.
I have Bat Thing.
Okay.
The what'd you call
Oh,
amalgam? Yeah, amalgam
Amalgam.
between Man Bat and
Man-Bat.
Man Thing.
Thing. Okay. All right.
And I have somewhere in Marvel Treasury Edition, it's the Howard the Duck Marvel Treasury
Okay.
Edition number.
Mhm.
But anyway, it's got it does have giant size Man Thing 4 and 5.
Well, it probably has Fear 19 in it as well.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
Because that would be Howard the Duck's first appearance.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
in a
Oh, it's got
Man-Thing
Howard the
story.
Duck number 1, and it's got giant size Man Thing 4 and 5. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, all right. What about Swamp Thing?
Oh, I've got House of Secrets number 92.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
So mine's only a 4.0 though.
Mine says 7.0, but it's not graded, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, mine's a graded 4.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good book. That's a nice book, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I should have got. I want to show something. But I'll show it to you after we're done. You know, we don't want to slow down. Have you come back and edit out the pause.
All right. So you got your CLZ app open?
I do.
All right. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So let's see what we get here. It's probably gonna be a big surprise. Yeah, I'm gonna shake again because it's just another Silver Surfer. And I got 2 Silver Surfers in a row, so I guess I have to talk about Silver Surfer. So the first one, I should have talked about the first one because it was issue 33, and that is an Impossible Man story. And then it also is the issue before we get the return of Thanos, because Thanos comes back in issue 34 of Silver Surfer. And what's best about that and why I was buying those Silver Surfers was because of the Ron Lim art. But I had actually become a fan of Impossible Man because of the Silver Surfer stories. He was very entertaining. He just really just kind of a. I always feel like Silver Surfer should be a relatively stoic individual.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Impossible Man, who is absurd.
He's the Mr. Mitzvah-Pitlick of the Marvel Universe.
Marvel Universe, yeah. So now this was written. Now this says it was written by Jim Valentino, which I thought. I guess maybe Starlin started on issue 34. Okay, so Starlin starts on issue 34, which is the next issue. So we got Jim Valentino, Ron Lim. So things are silly here, and then this is leading up to Infinity Gauntlet. So this is where the whole Infinity Gauntlet story starts, is in issue 34. So this is the last issue before things get serious in the Silver Surfer universe.
You know, I've never read any of the Infinity War stories. Never.
Even in Gauntlet? You haven't read Infinity Gauntlet? It's okay. It's, obviously it's a little overhyped because of the movies, the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But I think some of the stories leading up to it are actually more interesting than the Infinity Gauntlet itself.
Well, I'd like to read it just for the sake of it being one of the premier events, of the time.
I would suggest reading Thanos Quest, which is a 2-parter, which is basically how he gets the gems. And it's dealing with the, there's Grandmaster and
Collector you mean the Quintessence or whatever?
Oh yeah, the Collector and anyway, they have a name as a group, and it's leaving my brain. I wanted to say, I know, because I got this Guardians of the Universe, but that's incorrect because that's DC, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what their names are collectively, what they're referred to. But he's getting the gems from them as part of that story.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a 2-parter, and it's got Ron Lim art.
And it actually published publishing-wise, predated the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty good, and I enjoyed the issue 34 of Silver Surfer up to 44, which is where it's Thanos, Surfer, leading up to him assembling the Infinity Gauntlet. So that's like a 10, 11 issue run there.
Yeah.
That kind of predates the Infinity Gauntlet as well. So it's
Okay.
it's a story of how it all gets put together and then turns into Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay.
Which started with Perez art and ended with Ron Lim art. So
Yeah. I remember that.
all right, what you got?
Well, this is the third volume of Adventure Comics, and it came out in 2011. It's number 523. So basically, it picked up the legacy numbering of Adventure Comics, and it's the first appearance of Glorith the second. I don't even know who that character is.
I was gonna say, who is that?
I don't know. And it's written by Paul Levitz and art by Phil Jimenez and Andy Lanning. So yeah, I've never read this. I had this unreasonable pursuit of completing Adventure Comics from that run from Adventure 247 all the way to the very final issues. So that included that original run. Even the last few, maybe 10 or so issues were actually digests. And then whenever they picked up the legacy numbering in subsequent volumes, I picked them up too. So I don't know really anything about this story. I just have it.
Well, one version of Glorith was an underling of Time Trapper. I don't know if it's that one or not. No, this apparently is the one that's first appearance was in, would you say Adventure Comics?
This is 523.
Okay, so that was in 338. So that must have been the first Glorith. Let's see if I can find the second one here. I guess not. I don't know. I was trying to find it for you, Mike, but I'm failing. So.
Yeah, I know. I remember the name, and I remembered that the original one was in that probably around the Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen era of the Legion. But
okay.
Yeah.
Here's the post 0 hour. Let's try post 0 hour. No, that doesn't help me any. Cause there's like three here. There's pre-zero, post-zero. It has to be this post-zero. Lori Morning, or there's another Glorith. Okay, here it is. Glorith. This is also pre-0 hour. A young woman living on Xerox's Sorcerer's World. Doesn't say much else about it. She's a black witch.
Oh.
Trained by some of the most powerful mystics in the galaxy.
Yeah.
So.
I always cracked up at the name of that world, Xerox.
I'm looking to see. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I was looking for Grandmaster, and I got chess references. But,
yeah, I kept wanting to say quintessence.
Elder of the universe.
Oh,
there
an elder. Okay.
Elder of the universe.
Where is the quintessence from? Is that DC
know.
maybe?
Let's see, quintessence. That I don't know. Quintessence, if I can spell it. That is comics. Gotta specify what it is. Prime Earth DC. Quintessence was created by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. Kingdom Come #3.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, Elders of the Universe.
Okay. All right. Your day would have been shot if you didn't figure that out. Yes.
I would have been like at lunch and just screamed it.
And I bet the listeners are the same way. They're like, thank goodness Scott looked that up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, because they were just dying to know. Or either that, they're just yelling at us the entire time. You idiots. Get your act together. I thought you guys knew what you were talking about. We obviously proved that we don't.
Oh, boy.
All right. So, Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you besides podcast at birdcomics.com, how might they do that?
You've got my email. It's Mike at comicshoproadshow.com. And then you got our Facebook page with Campus Comics Cast. Hop in there and leave a note for us.
And I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, burgcomics.com, where there are links to my social media pages and eBay store. And we'll be back soon to talk about pre-orders, right?
Yep.
Yep. All right, we almost
years.
left that out of there.
We did.
I know, you know.
But
it's
I
a
think
big
the routine is
surprise.
pretty well known by now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's pretty well established. All right, we'll be back.
Doesn't tell me what's in it though. Yeah. Well, the archives first one has at least the primer and the 1, 2, and 3. And then you can apparently read Devil by the Deeds from the sample off of Amazon. Okay. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna order that one. You found it on eBay? Yeah, the Grendel Archives, but I'm ordering the $24 copy. I can't. Let me see if I can find it. There's gotta be a. Then the next least expensive one is $35. Well, $40 by the time you add shipping. So. All right, I find. Okay, here's the one that you're looking at, $23.99. Yeah. And you're saying it does have. If you look, it shows the back cover, and it shows it has primer 2 and Grendel 1 through 3. So. Oh. Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna do it right now. Buy now. Confirm and pay. Oh yeah, see. Okay, well, I'm buying it now too. Dagnabbit. Oh, it's gone. Because you got it. I got it. Apparently, you only had one. They only had one. Sorry. Man. Okay. There's one for